This video is the result of a confluence of a number of things that have happened recently. I suppose the trigger point was Jordan Peterson. I've been watching quite a few videos and shorts lately to do with something that is quite relevant for me right now. But I guess there are a few different topics, mainly two, I think. But I think that what they all have in common is that they're focused on life, the betterment of you as a person. And there is one particular video, well, a lot of them have involved Jordan Peterson, but there is a number of them that have had, well, he's been there's one thing that he has been saying in several of these videos, which is what he considers to be the most important skill to have in life: articulation. Learning to be articulate. And I definitely see where he's coming from with that. I have, for a very long time, probably for as long as I can remember, been striving to express my thoughts as accurately as I can, which usually involves me sitting, well, if it's in text, it involves me sitting at a keyboard and having this cycle of deleting and writing and deleting and writing and trying to I tried to write something and then I realized that it's not as accurate as it could be, and then I tried to rephrase it in a more accurate manner, and then I rinse and repeat. So this is something I've been doing for all my life, but I haven't really spent a whole lot of time practicing this in speech. I'm someone who spends a lot of time on my own, and the few times that I do interact with other people, that sounds a lot worse than it probably is. But the times that I do, I tend not to say much, especially in groups. In any case, Jordan Peterson, this was a point that came back several times: the importance of being articulate. And he rightfully says that the way you would go about becoming more articulate is through practice. Simple as that. Now, there are certain things that have happened lately that I'm going through at the moment, um, that have forced me to become exceedingly aware of how I phrase things. Because of the situation, I've had to be far more sensitive to this than usual. And so I suppose you could say that I was already primed for this. I guess that brings me to the next point, which is that I'm someone who spends a lot of time thinking aloud. There's a whole rabbit hole to explore right there, but I won't go into that now. But the important point is that I think aloud a lot, especially when there's nobody else around. And lately, I have been using that as an opportunity to practice articulation. Well, I actually have been doing it for a longer time, but I guess it's been more focused recently. Because I have been striving to not use so many fillers and fill my pauses with hesitation markers like or so, and I guess it's been working, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it. But recently I have been more focused in being more articulate, even when I'm having these sessions, I guess you could call it. So I guess you could ask, why then am I recording this if I'm already getting in the practice to become more articulate? Well, there are a number of reasons. Oh. I think, well, okay, so I guess one other influencing factor has been that you do see, or at least in my experience, see a lot of people uploading videos to YouTube where they're really just talking to a camera and there isn't really much else to it, and just getting their thoughts out, rambling. And it seems to be a style of video or type of video that has been increasingly common in the past few years, I suppose. And I guess that might also have primed me to think it this manner, or to get this idea. Now, I guess that is what I was thinking when I initially had this idea of putting it to video, that I thought I could practice articulation via these think out loud sessions that I usually have with myself, because I have them anyway, and then perhaps someone somewhere will find something insightful. But there are certainly more advantages to be had here. I could use this as some sort of diary that I can look back on. Many years from now, I can actually see myself think, which is certainly a more intimate form as opposed to writing your notes down, or writing your thoughts down rather. Another thing is, I could look back on these videos in the not so distant future, rather shortly after even, perhaps, and analyze them in a way where I look at my speech, my posture, things like that. I can see how well I'm actually doing with my articulation, which may not be very obvious as I'm sitting here talking. I suppose in some ways this is quite similar to how athletes do it, or very competitive athletes, dedicated athletes. Many will scrutinize videos of their own performances and see what they can do to improve, because there's something to be said of shifting your perspective to an outside view, where you see yourself from the outside. You can that hesitation threw me off a little bit. You can see things that otherwise would not be very obvious to you, for example. And it just gives you another perspective, and it's a lot easier to isolate exactly what you're doing. Another thing is posture. Because we'll be recording this in video format, I can see how I am sitting and how I am holding on eye contact, for example. Things like that, which could, well, it's not very useful for articulation, but if I am out and having a social interaction with someone, then being aware of my posture, I think, can be quite helpful indeed. It's also something you don't really think too much about, I guess, when you are in the heat of things. So I guess I could mention that these videos will then be my unfiltered, unscripted, unedited thoughts. And that means that I can, well, first of all, it takes quite a bit of pressure off because I don't have to edit anything, and makes it easy to just upload it when I'm done. Because otherwise, I'm not sure, it would become quite a hurdle to overcome, I think, if I want to get my thoughts out and then I remember that I will have to essentially take on an editing job after the fact, and that may prevent me from uploading. But not only that, if I were to edit things, it would kind of defeat the purpose of these videos a bit, because this is a practice in articulation, first of all, and well, if I edit the video, then it could look like I'm editing out things. There was another one. I'm getting quite aware when I'm sitting here like this, I guess. But I guess it could look like I am, well, I could be editing it to look better or something. I don't really have any incentive for doing that other than wanting others to think well of me. But yeah, I don't really see the point. It goes kind of against the nature of these videos, I think. It kind of takes away from the atmosphere, and I guess just the style of it as well. Wow, I'm not really satisfied with that explanation. A bit messy, but I think I might be getting the point across. It's not terribly important anyway. I feel like there are certain things I am missing. I think there was something else, one other point that I was thinking of in particular. I did write down some of the points I wanted to include, which I expect I won't be doing in future videos. But I was thinking about this particular video as I was out for a walk yesterday, and I thought of all these points that I thought would be beneficial to include. Since this is also serving as some sort of informational video, because it puts the rest, all future videos that I will upload in some context. But let's see, so I guess I could summarize at least. So the purpose of these videos is to practice my articulation, maybe use, that's like the primary purpose, I guess. And then if someone finds some of my thoughts, that is true. If I move about on this chair, then that's going to make a lot of noise. I'll try not to. So the primary purpose is to practice articulation, and then if someone finds some of my thoughts insightful, then that's certainly a bonus. I can use these videos as a diary and analysis as well. That's certainly something I could be using them for. And as I'm sitting here, I also realize that this is actually pretty good practice for getting comfortable around the camera, which I have never been, which may or may not translate to being more comfortable around people, possibly, because they both kind of elevate your heart rate a bit and make you nervous. I have also gone over the background, the reason I'm doing this, or what prompted me to do this, rather. Oh yeah, usually when I'm thinking aloud to myself, I prefer to pace back and forth or in circles through the house. But that obviously won't do. With these videos, I will try my best to sit still. I suppose it could be good practice for that as well. I realize this video is probably going to be a bit of a mess, but with more practice I'll probably get more comfortable around the camera, and hopefully I will also get better at articulating my thoughts. So it will be interesting to see where this will be heading. I honestly thought that I would be more nervous and have my mind more impaired by this exercise, because usually I have recorded videos before, and every time I get so self-conscious to the point where my cognitive functioning seems to slow down and be impaired in some way, and it just sort of blocks my mind. But I guess the fact that I'm doing this in one take might help. Just an observation that interested me a bit. So not bad, I suppose. I think that's about it. Okay, I don't really see any point in dragging this on, so I will end the video here. Here is to bettering ourselves, to strive to become better human beings